All right, shalom, shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakar giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS, salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and the women who follow. This is the brother Kratazah from the GMS Nebraska camp, coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. This lesson being entitled "Build Your House on a Rock." All right, this is stemming from Matthew's 27 on down, and the headline says the two foundations. So, Lord's will, this is edifying. All right, it says, "Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock." All right, it says, "And the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock." All right, and we have the picture here of a house that was built on a rock. Now, why is it imperative to build a house on a rock? Well, you have a solid foundation. You can see, you know, what you're building on. All right, as they said, the floods came. When the floods come, you're protected. When the winds blow, you're anchored down. All right, and when it beats on the house, it's able to stand it, to stand those times. All right, it says, "And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not should be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand." All right, and the rains descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Right. So when you build a house on the sand, there is no solid ground. All right, you see, like this is like a sand dune. You see how they flow and they go. There's nothing solid for you to put it on. There's nothing solid to stand on. So if the floods come, that house is gone. When the winds come, there's nothing holding it down. All right. So um that's the overt meaning of it, but there's a much more deep meaning to these foundations. So let's go back over it. Matthew 24 and 7, or Matthew 7 and 24, Salakia. "Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will liken him to a wise man which built his house upon a rock." All right, now, when you get this word rock, all right, it's a Strong's G 24, it's a Strong's G 4073, which is Petra. All right, it says a rock, a cliff, or a ledge, a projecting rock, a crag, rocky ground, a rock, a large stone. It metaphorically, a man like a rock by reasons of his firmness and strength of his soul. So it's essentially speaking about the strength, all right, in a man, all right, specifically, you know, your beliefs in this truth. It has to be built because the house is your beliefs, right? And your beliefs have to be built upon a solid foundation, firmness, right? So when you actually get the base word of this Petra, all right, it's Strong's G 4074, Petros, right, which is where you get the name Peter, which means a rock or a stone, all right, who was one of the 12 disciples of Yahweh Shai, right? And the Lord built his church upon Peter, upon a rock. Why? Because Peter was able, he had the strength, all right, to endure the things that were coming. All right. So when it says that the rains descended and the floods came, and the winds blew on it and beat upon the house, this is the trials and the tribulations that we go to. Right. The scriptures say that this is the condition of the battle. Right. Let's get that real quick. I'm gonna show y'all. Bear with me. In Second Ezra chapter 7 and verse 57 says, "Then he answered me and said, This is the condition of the battle which man that is born upon the earth shall fight. We're going to go through trials, we're going to go through tribulations, we're going to go through hard times, right? We're going to go through good times. But if your house is built on a rock, while you're going through these trials and tribulations, while you're going through these tough times, your faith will remain steady. That's the key. Your faith remaining steady. All right. Let's grab 2 Timothy 3:14. It says, "But continue thou in the things which thou hast learned and has been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them." Right. So we came in under the apostles and the elders of GMS and the great men on down. The camp leaders, the elder brothers in the camp. They're the ones who nourished us in this truth and brought us up in this truth. So we have to continue in these things which we have learned. Unlike IUIC, for example, Slakia, who switches with every wind of doctrine. They've had at least 3 MOTB breakdowns this year that I can remember hearing. 3 new breakdowns. All right, but 2 Timothy 3:14, it says, let me go back to the middle of 14. It says, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the Holy Scripture, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through the faith which is in Hamashiach Yahushai. So it says that from a child we have known the Holy Scriptures. It's not speaking about literally being, 4 years old. All right. Slakia. Gotta get some water. It's speaking about being a child in the spirit. All right, because if you came in 4 years ago, really you're 4 years old in this truth. So while we're still adolescent, we're learning. All right, and it says that you need to continue in the things that you learned, that you've been assured of. Why? Because that's going to become your foundation. All right, that's going to become that rock that you build your foundation, your stance to the truth off of. Right? You come in, you hear the breakdowns, you watch the videos. The word is convicted within you. The Lord starts supping with you. Let's get that real quick. Revelation 3:20. It says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come to him. I will sup with him, and he with me." Right. So the Lord's gonna work with you. The Lord's gonna deal with you if you're doing the right things. If you're sincere. All right. It said that you gotta knock because He's already at the door. All right, but you gotta knock at that door. All right, you knocking down Yahweh door. He's gonna enter, or he's gonna allow you to come in. All right, and he's gonna allow you to get this knowledge. All right, further solidifying that house and further solidifying that rock. So when the grievous wolves come in, they can't blow this house down. So when the floods come, they can't knock this house over. The scriptures speak about the enemies coming in like a flood, right? But if your house is built on a rock, right, the Spirit of the Lord is going to lift up a standard against it, right? Esau can't take you off this. He can't knock you off your pivot. You got to stand 10 toes down in this truth. And if you don't stand, if you're on shaky ground, all right, if you don't know if the MOTB is the mark, or excuse me, if you don't know that the RFID hip is the MOT to the B, then you on sandy ground. When that flood come through, you gonna get taken right along with it. All right, a man can knock you off your pivot because you trusting in some BS. This is Romans 14:5. It says, "One man esteemeth one day above another, and another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind." You have to be fully persuaded in your own mind, all right, that this is the truth. All right. as we read before, about let me see if I'm still there. You're being assured of who you learned this truth from. And you have to be fully persuaded. You can't be 50-50 in this thing. If the Lord said he'll spit out lukewarm, you got to be 100 and willing to go 100. 50% don't get this party started. 50% gonna get you judged. All right. This is Sirach 4 and 17. I think I'm gonna end it on this. Um Sirach 4 and let me see. I'm gonna start at 16. Nope. I'm gonna start at 15. Sirach 4 and 15 says, whoso giveth ear unto her shall judge the nations, and he that attendeth unto her shall dwell securely. Right? Speaking of wisdom, if a man commit himself unto her, he shall inherit her, and his generation shall hold her in possession. Right? So as we're learning this, or really, you know, let me finish reading and then I can break it down. Verse 17 it says, for at the first she will walk with him by crooked ways and bring fear and dread upon him and torment him with her discipline until she may trust his soul and try him by her laws. Right? So that's the whole point. All right. When you come into this thing, you're not going to just put your house up in 2 weeks. Your foundation is not going to be just solid in 2 weeks. All right, you got to build that foundation. You got to pound that rock and shape it into the to the shape that you want your house to sit on. Hey, maybe you came in listening to IUIC and you got to find a new rock. But wisdom is going to walk with you by crooked ways. What does that mean? It's going to try you to see if you really want it. It says that torment him with her discipline, right? So you have to be what's the word I'm looking for? Um, bear with me. Self discipline. You have to have self discipline, all right? Because being in this truth, you got to study, you got to read, you got to watch the news, watch prophecy, watch alternative media, you know, gather sources outside of the Bible that back up this what's said within the Bible. All right, this is a tedious process. All right, it's not. What did the Lord say? Um, bear with me. I'm trying to quote it. I got it written down. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. You know, it's not a difficult task that's given unto us in the sense of knowing what to do, but it's a task that you're always trying to achieve, right? You're always getting better. You're always learning more. So you're always improving your house. But if your house ain't built upon that rock, if you're still built on the sand, all right, what did it say? Let's go back to Matthew 7. It says of Matthew 7 and 26, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them not should be likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand, right? And the rains descended and the floods came and the winds blew and beat upon that house and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Hey, and if you ain't doing what you need to do in this truth, you're gonna fall greatly. You're gonna fall right on your face. There's a lot of people that came in this truth, all right, and who are no longer here. So you can't be high minded to think that the Lord is dealing with you when you can be gone at any moment, at any time, for any reason. You know, I think it's just a little bit more to this, and we'll end it. Ecclesiasticus 4 and 18 it says, then will she return straightway unto him and comfort him and show him her secrets. So, you're gonna go by trial and error. You're gonna have to Be as a man that traveleth and gain experiences, but those experiences is what's gonna get you through to the end. All right, when you building this house, all right, you're gonna know that hey, well, shit, I gotta have a stud finder. All right, I gotta use bigger nails. I gotta make sure I'm getting the right kind of wood. All this matters. All right, and you growing in this truth matters. You having that solid foundation matters. Compare someone who started in GMS to someone who started in IUIC. Someone who started in GMS, they're hearing the same things over and over and over. And we're going to keep teaching those same things over and over and over. The MOTB is the RFID chip. We're not adding tribes to the 12 tribes chart. We're not changing breakdowns. But someone who came in IUIC, man, they ain't heard about 5, 6 MOTB breakdowns. They don't know what the fuck to believe. That's confusion. And we know that the Lord is not the author of confusion. So make sure that your house is built upon a rock. And always, go ahead and do some maintenance on that house, man. Replace the windows. Build a second story. Put a carport or garage on it. That's getting more tools. The Lord gave us the tools that we have. Maybe you're a great speaker. Maybe you're a great reader. Maybe you remember precepts, so on and so forth. Whatever the gift that the Most High gave you, continue to build on that gift, but branch out and try to learn other gifts and be great at everything. That's the strive for the masteries, right? Be perfect as I am perfect. So, Lord's word is edifying. And with that being said, we give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakadash, giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and the women who follow. Shalom.